Far to the west of Faerun, across the trackless sea, lay the land of Maztica, a land of mountains, coastal jungles, and inland deserts. From these lands the first sighting of strange men with the heads and wings of birds came. They were neither friend nor foe at first, as they did not land to treat with those that walked the earth, instead flying high overhead. In time, they migrated across the trackless sea and settled in the land of Faerun. These birdfolk called themselves the Aarakocra. They are a race of avian humanoids, with the heads, wings, and feet of birds, and the arms and torso of a man. Their bodies are covered in feathers, with males showing bright and colorful plumage, and females being more drab in their coloration. Their more avian features resemble those of eagles, hawks, and parrots. Their bodies are lean and lightweight, with fragile, hollow bones to aid them in flight. While capable of walking on the ground, they are far more comfortable in the air. An Aarakocra in flight is said to be a display of dexterity and grace that would put even an elf to shame. For the Aarakocra are most at home when they are in the air, riding the thermal winds of the mountains and valleys, high above the towers and walls of men, elves, dwarves, and gnomes. For them, life is about living freely and unburdened, flying when and where you will. They place little value on material objects and have no concept of personal property. These differences between the Aarakocra and the races that walk the earth below has led to conflicts on more than one occasion. For the Aarakocra will swoop down, stealing sheep, goats, or other livestock for their hunts, carrying them away to be devoured in their mountain nests. Luckily, the Aarakocra are not dangerous or bloodthirsty species by nature, and they rarely ever attack humanoid races unless provoked. Farms and villages that live near mountain passes or Aarakocra tribes can often make deals with them, promising the occasional shiny object in exchange for having none of their livestock whisked away in the middle of the day. The Aarakocra are so at home in the sky that they refuse to land if they can help it, and being grounded for too long can sour their mood. All of their kind are naturally claustrophobic and cannot see well in the dark, making them uncomfortable in the houses and great walled cities of men, and many outright refuse to venture underground. Some may dispute this claim, but find that once trapped in a cave or other underground space, these brave Aarakocra slip into a blind panic, a paralyzing terror, or even outburst into random acts of violence, desperate to get out and see the sky above them again. For such reasons, they refuse to wear heavy armor, brandish large weapons, or bear great shields, along with any other equipment that might weigh them down. Instead, they favor weapons such as the spear, that are equally dangerous at a range and in melee, and wear only light armor made of leathers, cloth, or animal hides. In battle, they rain down from the sky. With a frightening shriek, they dive like birds of prey, striking with their spears, before retreating safely back into the air, away from the reach of enemy blades. Their incredible eyesight makes them exceptional archers and marksmen. The archers and spellcasters of the Aarakocra are second only to the elves of the woodland realms in their ability to rain death from above. While their talons and beaks are razor-sharp and could easily rend flesh, the Aarakocra refuse to use them as weapons, except in the most dire of circumstances. This is not out of any sense of honor or warrior pride, but rather a sense of cleanliness and good hygiene. Aarakocra are extremely hygienic creatures, constantly cleaning their feathers, pruning themselves, and bathing in lakes and streams, and using their talons and beaks to rend foes in melee is extraordinarily messy. Although their airborne assaults make them effective raiders, the bird folk of Faerun are not feared as such. Many who wander the mountains where the Aarakocra make their homes are all too happy to meet one of the bird folk. They make exceptional scouts, hunters, and guides through the treacherous terrain, and are always willing to barter for such services. Though they see little value in coin, they covet shiny objects, which they use as decorations in their nests. An Aarakocra will serve as a scout or hunter for days in exchange for a few jewels, coins, or shiny bits of worthless rock. Being avian in nature, the Aarakocra have bird-like mannerisms that make them awkward to speak to, tilting their heads, avoiding direct eye contact, frequently pruning their feathers, or bathing in fountains and fishing pods. Many spend so much time in the air that they forget vertical distances, and can be rather clumsy within the first hour of landing. An Aarakocra begins life as an egg in a nest high in the mountains. Tended to by their mother and sometimes their father, the egg will incubate for up to 8 months before hatching. The bird folk grow quickly, and need to be constantly fed. Some tribes cook their food, but many prefer to eat their meals raw, tearing off small chunks to swallow whole. The young bird folk are fully grown within 3 years, and most of their kind do not live much past the age of 30. They do not weep over their short lifespans. To them, growing old is a terrible fate. For who would wish to live if they could not easily take to the skies and soar? Aarakocra can speak the common tongue, and are also capable of communicating with other creatures of the sky, such as the air elementals. However, many prefer their own language, a tongue that is a mix of the common language and the language of air elementals, punctuated by chirps, cries, and squawks that add meaning to their words in the same way tone and facial expression does for human speech. This can lead to confusion, and in worst cases, fear, when the bird folk converse with those not of their race. Aarakocra live in small communities called tribes. Each tribe is nomadic, constantly moving from one end of their territory to the other. Their society is divided among gender and seniority lines. The eldest males are the leaders of the tribe, and the eldest females their highest-ranking spiritual leaders. The younger males hunt and patrol their territory for signs of danger, while the females craft weapons, tools, and nests during the mating season. The tribes of Aarakocra are not usually religious, but those that are worship deities of the sun, the wind, and the sky. Tribes in the wilderness have been observed worshipping Ardir Finaya, the elf goddess of the skies, or Akkadi, the goddess of primal winds. They have few rites and rituals in their religious practices, and often only sing to praise their gods. Travelers below them can hear their melodic hymns from the mountaintops as the sun crests over the peaks in the early mornings. There are those Aarakocra that live beyond the mortal world, in the elemental plane of air. This realm of endless skies and winds is a paradise to the bird folk. Here their kind can spend their entire lives on the wing, making their nests and places to lay their eggs on the many floating islands within the endless skies. Many scholars believe that it was within the elemental plane of air that this avian race first came into being. Though the bird folk are not hateful creatures by nature, they do not care for goblinoids or orcs, for these warbands have a habit of destroying their nests and butchering their people for meat. But above all, they despise gargoyles. Gargoyles are creatures made of earth and stone, and yet they sprout wings and take flight. This is appalling to the Aarakocra on a deeply instinctual level. Creatures born of earth and stone have no place in the skies, so the Aarakocra will attack and destroy any gargoyle they see without mercy. This has led to more conflict between Aarakocra and humans, who sometimes carve false gargoyles into their churches. Many times will the men and women of cities near the mountains find that their gargoyles have been pushed off of their pedestals of their churches and temples, smashed into pieces on the ground, causing a hazard to the people below. They look up to see an Aarakocra flying in great circles, shrieking its victory. I have to tell you, I'm a bit jealous of those Aarakocra, them bird folk of the world-span mountains. They can spend all day on the wing, soaring above all the goblins and wolves and illnesses and the debts and other sorrows that we're stuck with here on the ground. I spoke to one of them before, and believe you me, if I only saw the world from up there, well, I'd think of all things down here as pretty small myself. Say, we got any more of them gemstones? I think I can convince a couple of them to give me a ride. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video around, all that good stuff. And if you want to see more immersive D&D lore videos like this one, consider subscribing to my channel. I cover all sorts of things from character classes to monsters to even the locations and spells of Dungeons & Dragons. If you have a suggestion for a video, feel free to leave it in the comments below or leave it in my Discord, link below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.